Good evening and welcome to SENEDIA's 10th Annual Defense Innovation Days. My name's Tim Dalgirdis. I'm a part of the RTX Government Relations team and currently the chair of the board of SENEDIA. And again, on behalf of all of SENEDIA members and teams, I'd like to welcome you all here today. Before we get started, I would like to recognize some of our guests that are with us today, most especially Senator Jeanne Shaheen from New Hampshire. Senator. Rhode Island Governor Daniel McKee. Governor. The Rhode Island Speaker of the House, Speaker Joe Sacarci. The Mayor of Newport, Sai Kamsavaravan. Cam, Sai. State Representative Lou DePalma. I'm sorry, State Senator, excuse me. State Representative Joe Solomon. Together, Senator DePalma and Representative Solomon chair what's known as the Rhode Island Defense Economy Planning Commission, as a special commission just focused on our business sector to make sure that we're getting the needs and what we need from the state legislature, working hand in hand with the governor and the General Assembly. So two very important members of our delegation. Also with us today is the Rhode Island Commissioner on Post-Secondary Education, Shannon Gilkey. Shannon. From the U.S. Senate Armed Services Committee, we're joined by several professional staffers, Creighton Green, Carolyn Chuta, Stevens Cole, and Sisk Noah. Thank you all for being here. With that recognition, I just pause for a minute just to reflect about that epitomizes what SENEDIA does. Where else are you going to find a senator, a governor, a mayor, the legislature, all together in one room with all of us focused on your success and the industry's success so that we drive our economy and do that properly. I just noted also with us is Newport's own state representative and chairman of the House Appropriations Committee here in Rhode Island, the House Finance Committee, Representative Marvin Abney. It's just a great example, again, of SENEDIA as the Alliance for Defense, Tech, Talent, and Innovation, that we are the Defense Alliance for all of New England. We're focused on economic development, workforce development, as we strengthen the defense sector and our national security by connecting and partnering with leaders not only from industry but at government from all levels. Our membership now of about 150 companies represents some of the world's largest companies like my own RTX and Lockheed Martin and some of the others, to some of the small and mid-sized companies that are all here today and represented. So most of you know the history of SENEDIA from your membership and your time here. But we were born in 2002 to prepare this region and this area for the 2005 BRAC. And we worked together as an association, again, with industry and government. And the Newport Naval Base in Newark actually expanded and grew out of that BRAC. So we knew we were onto something. And we've continued to build on SENEDIA from that. First focused primarily on the undersea sector here in Rhode Island and some nearby Mass and Connecticut. And then in 2018, we created the Undersea Technology Innovation Consortium, UTIC. UTIC went on to win the OTA contract from the Navy to deliver the technology prototyping for the Navy. The UTIC now is an independent nonprofit consortium who's awarded over $700 million of prototype contracting to its members from across the country, all while being headquartered here in Rhode Island. Then in 2016, Rhode Island chose SENEDIA to operate the Real Jobs Rhode Island grant focused on the defense workforce in Rhode Island. Just this year alone, through that program, we've worked with over 150 candidates, placed 26 interns, and facilitated 47 new hires in the defense sector. So again, focused on that workforce development. And the support from the state of Rhode Island has been incredible throughout the ecosystem. In 2020, SENEDIA was selected by the U.S. Navy's submarine shipbuilding workforce effort to broaden the workforce and economic development focus throughout New England, which really expanded our reach. To date, we've helped facilitate in the training of over 6,000 trade and industrial skilled workers who are now supporting the New England submarine shipbuilding supply chain. Again, we always hear about the supply chain and investing in that supply chain. That really led our New England relationships to really grow from that program. And those relationships continue to develop, especially over the past several years, where SENEDIA now, last year for the first time, hosted the first ever New England breakfast at the Farnborough Air Show. For those of you who haven't been, Farnborough and Paris Air Show are the largest aerospace defense show in the world, and we're so thrilled to have our special guest, Senator Shaheen, as our featured guest at that air show breakfast. She now leads the Senate congressional delegation to the air show annually. This year she was accompanied by 7 of her Senate colleagues, all of whom came to our breakfast, and very similar to this, had an opportunity to network, talk with industry leaders, and develop those relationships to help bolster the defense sector, the industry, not only across New England, but now around the world. We're working with Senator Shaheen and planning to do a very similar breakfast next year at the Paris Air Show in June. We hope that all of you, if you've been to the air show in the past, you'll consider coming again. We look forward to partnering with all of you to facilitate that New England impact at the air show. An important part of that impact in the ecosystem that I've talked about is our collective investment in the workforce. And with that, I'd like to congratulate our 2024 SENEDIA Scholarship awardees and their families who are with us today. Morgan Beck from the University of Rhode Island. Morgan? Nicholas Leung from Boston University. Nicholas? And Owen Malone from MIT. Owen, in the back. Congratulations to all of you. Morgan, I'll share with you what I did to the others. I haven't had a chance to connect with you yet. There's about 20 companies with booths and about 400 people with business cards who are all hiring. It's up to you guys to go work those networks. You have some great talent here for all of us. I hope you've all had a chance to take a look at the program for not only tonight, but for the rest of the conference. And I know you can all appreciate the amount of time, energy, and effort goes into planning something like this. None of it would be possible without the fabulous Molly McGee and the staff. So Molly, thank you. And Molly would get me if you're not a member of SENEDIA yet, please check in at the SENEDIA table before you leave in the next day or two so you can join. We'd love to have you. Like I said, we're a small state, but we'll make room for you as we work throughout New England. And as I'd mentioned, Governor Daniel McKee is with us tonight. Governor McKee has been laser focused on education and the economy. He's dedicated and focused to raising household incomes across the state of Rhode Island, not only in our sector, but across the entire state. Governor, if you'd like to bring greetings, please. Please welcome Governor McKee.
Thank you, Tim, and I'm seeing you with your real hat on. Tim actually volunteers his efforts on many levels, including our higher ed, for a number of years. And so, Tim, thank you so much for being the work that you do. I appreciate that. And, of course, Molly with SENEDIA, we know that that's so important. And as I'm walking around the different booths, I almost want to just skip my notes and just share with you what I'm learning and sharing how that fits in with our efforts at the state of Rhode Island. Speaker Sakachi's here along with his team. We work hand in hand. As Tim said, we're looking to really make sure that we have a plan in the state. So we have a Rhode Island 2030 plan. And the work that's being done here fits in like a glove to make sure that we have a Learn 365 plan where we have 38 of our 39 communities in the state that have bought into the idea that we're going to raise our reading and math outcomes. And again, fits perfectly with the industries that you represent here today, and to make sure that we're the very best in the country in our outcomes in our schools by 2030. And I challenge, I think every state should have that goal, because you're here about defense, which means our safety, which means our freedom, and so we should be working every single day in our states or across America to raise up these academic outcomes and partner in with companies like here today that are represented. And then we have a Road to Prosperity plan that we're working on very seriously about raising incomes in the state of Rhode Island, raising personal wealth through home ownership. People who work here should live in their own home, and then creating this equity long-term, raising their families and raising their kids and sending them to our schools. So I want to just thank everybody here. I think everybody understands the impact that you have, not only in Rhode Island, but also the entire region. To be here with the senator from New Hampshire is really great to be here. A former governor as well, so we like to plug that in. But we know how important the work is, and we can go over the numbers, the thousands of jobs, that are being created right now as we speak, with the leadership from our congressional delegation, including Senator Jack Reed, who has been a tremendous supporter of ours here in the state of Rhode Island. So what I would say, let's partner in. We know that there's projects that are happening right now in Rhode Island. We think that it's not the number of jobs any longer, it's the quality of those jobs. For us to raise per capita income, we need to make sure we know what's happening in your world. We need to make sure that you know what's happening in our world, so that we can actually match it up and help the people that live and work here in our state, but also throughout the country as well. So I want to just thank everybody. I would also say that for the people of Rhode Island here today, we are investing our time and our money through our General Assembly, putting on bonds that really make a difference. A cybersecurity school at Rhode Island College would be created. I think Congressman Langevin was just here. That's going to create over 1,000 students in that school within 5 years, and we're going to build a school when we pass that bond. A life science building at URI campus. I know many people here are partnering with URI in many ways. We are as well, and we're investing in our universities to make good things happen. So it's not just the big companies making an impact in this sector. There is great entrepreneurial spirit when it comes to the defense sector. I had the privilege recently attending a product launch of a robotic submarine submersible at a startup called VATN, in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. And the work they're doing is just very impressive, as the work that you're doing at all the booths that I've just visited. We're also working to train workers in the defense space, from cybersecurity at Rhode Island College to the blue economy at University of Rhode Island. These investments open the doors for good-paying jobs and increase research and development to benefit our entire nation. So I'm excited by the future, and I'm grateful to everyone supporting our state's economic efforts, and also the work that you're supporting today, which is our most important thing that we protect, which is our freedom. Our freedom is the most important thing that we can have, and to make sure that we share that, we don't have that without a strong defense. So thank you so much for having me here today and sharing a few words.
Thank you, Governor. I'll just share that the Governor has called a meeting with the SENEDIA board and several members of the defense sector for next Friday to talk more specifically about what his administration is going to be able to do to help support, sustain, and grow our aerospace defense economy in Rhode Island. I'd also mention that our Rhode Island Speaker of the House, Joe Sicarci, is also here. In the Speaker's first term, he authored the Qualified Jobs Incentive Act, that along with some of his other business-friendly initiatives, have spurred and sustained much of the economic growth that the state has seen in the last 10 years. With that, Speaker Sicarci, would you like to say a few words, please?
Thank you. Exciting. Welcome to Rhode Island, welcome to Newport, and thank you for being here. And more importantly, thank you for what you do, not only for our country, our national security, but for your economic impact in the state of Rhode Island. The defense industry's impact in Rhode Island last year was $7.6 billion. As I walked around and met many of you today, I talked to some companies who are not in Rhode Island, and that's okay, but I asked you to consider growing in Rhode Island and expanding in Rhode Island and coming here because we value. As the governor said, it's a collaboration. We work together. We're great partners in government, along with my colleagues in the General Assembly, Chairman Solomon, Chairman Abney. We get it. We understand what you do. We understand the great impact you have. Nothing better for Rhode Island to have good-paying, sustainable, high-paying private sector jobs. Why is that critical? Because the taxes that you pay and your employees pay help sustain a robust social economic agenda that we have at the State House. So we get it. We understand. We want to work together. Governor mentioned cybersecurity at Rhode Island College. Congressman Langevin, former Congressman Langevin, was here. He's cheering that effort up for us. He does a phenomenal job. We recognize that we have to create a pool of talent, and with that, school will do that. We made a commitment on our life science, $40 million to start that program in URI and in Providence to create that industry going forward. Let's not forget our friends at Quonset Point, who many of you partner with and work with. Some of you have locations in Quonset Park, and we ask you to continue to do that. I want to say that we in the General Assembly, along with the governor's office, we understand business. We want business to grow and thrive in Rhode Island, and we'll make it happen. I can't think of anybody better than Tim Del Giudice to be a conduit between your industry and the State House. I've known him for a long time. He is multi-talented, he is smart, he is hardworking, and he gets it. So, Tim, thank you for what you do. Thank all of you at SENEDIA. It's a great partnership, and we're going to continue with the state. It's a great organization. We want you here in Rhode Island. We want you to grow. I can't thank you enough, and please continue the good work. Welcome to Rhode Island, and enjoy the festivities here today and tonight. Thank you again.
Spoken as only the Rhode Island speaker could speak. As I promise you, Senator, we are the Defense Alliance for all of New England, and we're not going to take Granite State Manufacturing out of your town. Trust me on that. Next, I get to invite up my boss. So Jeff Shaheen is Senior Vice President of Global Government Relations for RTX. He's responsible for working with government leaders at every level of government in every country around the world. Jeff has over 30 years of experience in the private sector and public sector. On the public side, his leadership roles have included the Staff Director to the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and Staff Director to the House Appropriations Committee. Jeff? There he is. Thanks, boss.
You're welcome. Well, thanks, Tim. Governor, Speaker, Mayor, thank you all for being such wonderful hosts for this event again. On behalf of RTX and our three businesses, Collins Aerospace, Pratt & Whitney, and Raytheon, we are once again honored to serve as a sponsor for this annual event. Last year was my first time in attendance, and I was blown away by the impact of this event, bringing together our New England aerospace and defense community. It's a pleasure to partner with SENEDIA at these events, and I'm always left impressed with the work the SENEDIA team does to make each one of these shows such a great success. This evening, I have the honor of introducing Senator Shaheen, the first woman in U.S. history to be elected to both the House, elected to both a United States Senator and Governor. Adding to her list of achievements between her time as governor and election to the U.S. Senate, she served as director of Harvard University's Institute of Politics. Senator Shaheen has spent her career as a dedicated public servant who's shown time and time again that she will always be there for her region and her constituents. Her work on the Appropriations Committee, the Foreign Relations, and the Armed Services Committees has been essential in assuring that our aerospace and defense industry continues to safeguard our nation's interests both at home and abroad. SENEDIA, as Tim mentioned, just hosted a wonderful event in London with the Senator at the Farnborough Air Show. We've all known of her leadership here at home, and now she's being recognized on the world stage as well. We're incredibly proud of our long-standing relationship with Senator Shaheen, and we are grateful for her leadership and commitment to security for this country. Before I introduce the Senator, I also want to thank her staff that's here with her this evening Abby, Sarah, and Allie. And we all know, as the senator's smiling over there, without that hardworking staff, life would be a lot harder both in D.C. and at home. So, Senator, without further ado, please join me on the stage, and to the rest of the team, welcome.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Good evening, everyone. So nice to be here in Newport with all of you. Governor McKee, I especially appreciated your commitment to education, which is something that I worked very hard on as governor as well. Speaker Sikarchi, wherever he went, thank you for all of your efforts, and Newport Mayor, appreciate your hosting us as well. And thank you to SENEDIA, to Tim, to Molly, to all of you who have been members of SENEDIA. Congratulations on the 10th anniversary of this event. It's very exciting. You know, I was especially appreciative of SENEDIA's hosting me in Farnborough for the air show. And I said one of the things that I really wanted to do when I took over the effort to lead senators to the air show was to have more of a focus on New England. When I got to my first air show, they had an event for all the folks from Alabama, you know, who have an aerospace industry in Alabama. They had a big event for people from Oklahoma and from Kansas. I said, come on, in New England, we have more than that. You know, we have innovation. We have these wonderful universities all across New England. We need to showcase what we're doing in New England, and that's what SENEDIA is doing. So thank you for all of your efforts. And look, I know we want to be parochial. I'm really as parochial as anybody about New Hampshire. But the benefit that we have in New England is not just Rhode Island or Massachusetts or New Hampshire. It's the fact that we are a region and that we feed off of the innovation and the work that's being done at your companies across the region. And that's one of the things that makes us so important and so strong. So I think SENEDIA, this 10th anniversary, is just the beginning. We are going to continue to focus on what we need to do to showcase the aerospace and defense industry throughout New England. Now, I know that Jack Reed is normally the keynote speaker who's here, and he's off doing his job as chairman of the Armed Services Committee, but I'm next in line, so I figured I'll be okay. I can substitute for him. You know, the defense economy in New England employs over 400,000 people. It has an economic output of $100 billion annually. And our defense contractors are growing at a faster rate than the national average. That speaks to our ability to develop, to innovate, and to manufacture like nowhere else in the country. And as we look at the National Defense Strategy that has now highlighted for 2 consecutive administrations that we again face the threat of global power competition from not just Russia, but from the PRC. What you're doing is particularly important. We know that Russia remains devoted to using violence to redraw international borders. It's willing to undermine the global order. We know that China is watching very carefully what goes on with Ukraine. And then we have Iran, North Korea, and what has been a more closely developing relationship between those four countries poses a particular threat to the United States and our allies. One of the things that I think the war in Ukraine has showed us is that we have some work to do in our defense industrial base. You all are really doing great work, but we aren't responding as quickly as we thought we were going to be able to address support for what's happening in Ukraine, to work with our allies. So it's been a good lesson as we think about what we need to do in the future to continue to remain strong. I will tell you that in March, I visited the Indo-Pacific. We went to the Philippines, Vietnam, South Korea, and Japan. And one of the things that I was particularly impressed by was that we have a strategy in the region. It's a strategy that is working, and it's one that our allies have bought into. I was so impressed to hear President Marcos in the Philippines and the second highest communist leader in Vietnam, both singing from the same script about the threat that China poses in the South China Sea, the threat to their territorial waters, the threat to commerce, maritime commerce in the region. So it is exciting to hear that we are all on the same page, that we are working together. That's part of what AUKUS is designed to address. I was particularly impressed, Tim, when you introduced the students who are interning with SENEDIA, because Abby Kane, who works with me, just got back from Australia to visit and to hear more about the AUKUS program. And I said, so what was one of the big takeaways that you heard when you were in Australia? She said, they are probably even more concerned about their workforce of the future than we are in the United States. If we're going to be successful, we've got to ensure that we have the workers we need for the future. That's one of the things this intern program is doing with SENEDIA. It's one of the great partnerships we have with Granite State Manufacturing and our community colleges in New Hampshire for welding and machining. We need to make sure that we have the workers who can innovate at the speed that we need them to innovate. And of course, you talked about your new cyber center that former Congressman Langevin has been supporting. We know that it's not just weapons and the innovation that you're doing, but it's making sure that we have the cyber and information systems that can shape the battle space just as much as air or sea power. So there are few capabilities more important to competition with the PRC than our undersea fleet. I know it's one of the things that you're particularly focused on here at this conference. Attack submarines are the crown jewel of U.S. military might, and it's where we maintain a competitive edge. And looking at some of those uncrewed undersea vessels gives me real optimism that we're going to continue to stay ahead of the innovation curve. So as we think about what can we do from a policy perspective in DC, one of the other committees that I chair is the Small Business Committee. And we've got a lot of big players in the room this evening, but we've got a lot of small companies as well. And ensuring that those small companies can participate with all of you big players is really critical. It's one of the things that helps keep our economy innovative. We also need to think about ensuring that we can get a budget out on time so that you have some certainty as you're looking at your work with the federal government. It's been one of the things that I hear most as I travel around. I say, you know, what's the most important thing that we could do to help you in Washington? Well, number one is get a budget out on time and make sure that there's some certainty so we know what we can depend on. I will tell you that that's one of the things that I'm committed to doing, to making sure that we continue to work with you, not just on the Armed Services Committee, on the Appropriations Committee, on the Small Business Committee, but in every aspect of the work that you're doing in Washington. So thank you all so much for what you're doing. Thank you for your innovation, for, as Governor McKee said, for keeping us free, because we know that the threats are real. They're getting harder, and so your work is even more important. I look forward to not having this be the first time that I come to this event, and to seeing all of you in Paris next year at the air show. Thank you all very much.
I've got something for you. So, Senator, on behalf of Molly and Tim and the SENEDIA crew, I'm going to present you with a 10th anniversary coin. And we'll shake hands, and if you don't coin me back, that means you are buying the next round of drinks when we see one another.
All right.
So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Senator. Your talk reminded me of two things, and I'm not supposed to go off the cuff, so sorry, Molly. The collaboration between industry and academia. So at RTX, we have Collins Aerospace with a sizable facility in New Hampshire. And we're relocating that facility right now inside the same building as the Olson Advanced Manufacturing Center at the University of New Hampshire. And it's a true partnership in the things that we're collaborating on the bones you built first as governor and now as senator, which is fantastic. And then as the New England-focused lobbyist, I'll put my 6 senators against Texas's 2 anytime. So we look at it as the New England focused. So thank you again, Senator, for being here. And if you haven't had a chance to chat with the senator or our fantastic staff, please do that tonight before we close. I'd also like to recognize Richard Beretta from Adler Pollack and Sheen for sponsoring tonight's reception. Richard, thank you very much for your hospitality and your sponsorship. We're not wrapping up. We're just closing the speaking program, so please stay, mix, mingle, visit the booths, partner with one another. We do wrap up around 7-ish or whatnot, so you go out and enjoy the Newport economy. It should stop raining by then. Have fun, but not too much fun. SecNav, doors open at 8:30 for SecNav tomorrow morning, so we'll all be fresh and ready for him in the morning. So thank you.